time to hear what the Daily Wire has to say, okay? We're only going to get smarter here.
All right. Our friend Steve.
Jeremy, not even going to lie, boring. It's his last name. His last name is boring.
Steven Crowder has launched a new initiative called Stop Big Con.
That's
and
right.
in the video announcing the launch of the project, he talked about leaving the blaze and all the different offers that he fielded from other conservative organizations.
This video is sponsored by Mountain Dew, Pitch Black. It's not actually, but if it was, that would be hella cool. Mountain Dew, why don't you sponsor your local anti-capitalist streamer? Give me some money so I can talk about how you shouldn't be making money. But no, okay, so for context on this one, the Daily Wire offered $50 million for a 4-year contract with Steven Crowder, where they would pay him $50 million, and he would continue doing what he did, but he would have to make sure that whatever he was saying followed the Daily Wire's guideline, okay? Steven Crowder made a bunch of videos talking about how it's bullshit and he doesn't like the deal is nonsense, and that he thinks that they should do it a different way. He stood on his principles, right? The Daily Wire, however, is like, come on, just sign the contract, bud. Come on, just sign it. Come on. They actually even referred to content creators that don't have a name as slave laborers. Slave laborers. They can be wage slaves. That's what it was. Wage slaves, right? They can come over here and be wage slaves for a little bit, and then afterwards they'll have a brand, you know? It's all good. It's all good in the hood.
And what he thought were the real problems with those offers. And that's led a lot of people to speculate about whether or not the Daily Wire is one of the people who made him an offer. In particular, are we the ones who made the offer that he put up on the screen and talked about at length? And the answer is yes, that offer did come from the Daily Wire.
All right.
I'm not trying to hide that fact. I'm not ashamed of that fact. In fact, I think it's a very good offer. But I think there's a lot of sort of misconceptions about the nature of the offer, the nature of the points. I think Steven misunderstood a lot of the points. And so the way we do here at the Daily Wire, we're just going to be incredibly transparent. You know that we like to have our members be a part of the journey. We live stream all of our company town halls, for example. We just find that sunlight sometimes is the best disinfectant. And so with that in mind, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we came to be in conversations with Steven, how those conversations ended, and walk you just line by line through what the actual document that we sent over to him, a non-binding term sheet, what it actually said and why.
Okay.
First thing you should know is that I'm really miserable to be making this video. Steven's been my friend for 10 years. I think he's maybe the most talented person working in the conservative media space. He's one of the top entertainers in the country, politics notwithstanding.
You know, I'm going to make an argument. I'm going to say straight up, it's probably either Tim Pool. As much as I hate Tim Pool, it's either him or Ben Shapiro probably. Because I know Tim Pool can play guitar and skateboard pretty good. And Ben Shapiro is like a hella good violinist. So, you know, when it comes to talent, I'm going to say that. Because they're both entertainers. They both get huge numbers as well, you know. So, not to mention, think about like, if Ben Shapiro respected rap as like a thing, naturally, with how fast he speaks, man, he'd be spitting. He'd be the next Eminem. He'd be Skittles. Well, nah, that'd be too gay for him, right? Like the rainbow, that'd be too much like LGBT. That would be what they call the alphabet, right? Be too much alphabetness for him. So probably not that. Probably something boring and beige, you know.
A great comic voice, and I find it really tragic that we're having this kind of a conversation.
Okay, let's get to the part where you start talking about
scripted fiction like the Pendragon Cycle and Atlas Shrugged and other projects that we've taken on. Would we have the resources? We weren't sure. But again, you have to have the conversation, and we were happy to have it. So we reach out to the agent, and we could get on the phone and have a conversation with Steven.
Let's get into the contract.
I'm going to walk you through that document, what it says, what it doesn't say, some of how Steven represented it. I'm sure he feels like he was being accurate, but some of the things that he said are simply not true.
All right,
based on the text. And you know, Steven's a very passionate guy. I think that he's doing his level best to stand against what he sees as an injustice, but there is no injustice in this document, as I think you'll see. And then I'll tell you what happened right after we sent the document, when I finally did get on the phone with Steven. So first, here's the document.
Just so you know, this is the guy that said they could be wage slaves, okay? This is... So if he doesn't address that at some point, maybe I skipped over it by accident, but if he doesn't address that at some point, we got problems.
The non-binding confidential term sheet. I'm just going to walk you through it. Full transparency. This non-binding term sheet sets forth the basic deal points of a proposed content production and distribution agreement between the Daily Wire, LLC, a Texas limited liability company, and Steven Crowder via his loan out, so that if and when the parties elect to move forward with a long-form agreement, they can move quickly in preparing a definitive and binding agreement. That's just legalese. That means this is just a conversation starter, and we're obviously going to have a negotiation. $1 million for the initial.
All right, let's get into this bit, right? Term, 4-year initial term with 2-year renewal at DW's sole discretion. That would be Crowder, or Daily Wire, right? The Daily Wire liability is DW, Steven Crowder, collectively Crowder, right? So DW is Daily Wire. So a 4-year initial term, that's the contract. 2-year term renewals, but only if the Daily Wire wants it, right? Fee, $50 million for the initial term plus $25 million for the renewal term if extended, paid in monthly installments. So each month he gets whatever the equivalent of $50 million per year is.
Initial term plus $25 million for the renewal term if extended, paid in monthly.
Production costs. Crowder will bear the burden of production, including all costs associated therewith, on all of the content contemplated herein, except on the quarterly and annual content contemplated below. The quality of the production will be as good as or better than his currently existing content. That seems pretty fair.
Installments. Like I say, a pretty big number, but we thought for a talent like Steven, this is probably the minimum number that's going to get, except on the quarterly.
Okay. The Daily Wire will have the exclusive right to realize revenue in connection with all of Crowder's content and brand. Boom. That's the first bit, right? So, of course, this is how it has to work. They pay him $50 million for 4 years, something like 12, 15, 17 million, something dumb like that per year, right? What would it be? Because 15 million over 3 years would be 45. So it would be like 12.5 million, something like that over 4 years. So like millions and millions per year, but they get access to any amount of money that he would be generating. All revenue generated by him goes to them. So they're banking on the idea that in a 4-year period, his brand generates more than $50 million for the Daily Wire. Steven Crowder takes a $50 million contract and generates $80 million worth of content, right? Something like that.
And annual content contemplated below. We'll get to that part a little bit later. It's kind of a novel concept. The quality of the production will be as good as or better and promotions as requested by.
All right. Crowder will deliver a 1.5-hour Louder with Crowder audio-video show of a quality and kind consistent with the daily show he currently produces 4 days a week, 192 episodes, original episodes per year, i.e. 4 weeks off, including all ad reads and promotions as requested by the Daily Wire. So that means that he only has to put together a show that lasts an hour and a half each day, so probably 3.5 hours of work, 4 hours of work, outside of what he usually does. And since he's a content creator that, like, he's already into politics, it's something he's looking at probably all the time. But 4 hours of work roughly probably each day, 4 days a week. So he's looking at, 16 to 20 hours? He's looking at a 20-hour work week. Oh my God, with a month off? A 20-hour work week with a month off. Jesus. That's incredible. Okay. Now, granted, of course, he could do that right now. Like, he could do that if he wanted. These episodes are to be filmed in studio daily, Monday through Thursday. At least 1 hour outside the paywall.
Oh, yeah. So he's going to continue to produce his show, his minutes inside the DW Plus paywall.
Oh, so, okay. Got you. Okay. So 1 hour outside of their special fucking streaming service, and then a half hour worth that is exclusive content to the streaming.
In the same way that right now he has his Piss Off YouTube segment that has historically been at Blaze, well, he would still do that same kind of concept. 30 minutes of the show would now be behind our paywall. Crowder can bank or pre-record a limited number of episodes upon our approval and reasonable discretion. Days without new original episodes will be scheduled in advance, subject to our reasonable approval. What's this about? Well, a guy like Crowder, in addition to his 4 weeks of vacation, there's just also going to be times where he, for whatever reason, maybe he's got a speech, maybe he's got a stand-up comedy gig somewhere around the country. If he were to come to us and say, hey, I can't really shoot a show on Thursday because I'm going to be doing this stand-up gig, that's fine. Let's shoot 2 episodes on Tuesday and we'll roll one of them out on Thursday. It's just giving us
Yeah, that's a pretty normal thing that people do, actually. So far, everything he's saying is pretty reasonable.
all the max 60 days. That's 2 weeks of vacation. So they work about 250 work days a year. And we're telling Steven, you've got to produce 192. So already, even to say 4 weeks of vacation, that is probably change. Quarterly content. We asked that Steven.
Okay, so monthly 90-minute all-access live member Q&A and all ad reads and promotions as requested by the Daily Wire for the same. Now, one of the things I want you to notice that they said earlier was that his 1.5 hour content includes all ad reads. So if they put 10 to 15 minutes of ad reads in, he's only got an hour and 15 minutes worth of stuff to do, right? So, damn, that's nice. One major Daily Wire promo video and photo shoot coordinated by the Daily Wire, anticipated to be a full day separate from other content shoots.
Going to produce one major promo video and
That's
photo
quarterly.
shoot coordinated by us for his content at the company. We would want him to 4 times a year come in and make a very well produced promo, that gives us marketing assets to be able to go out and sell subscriptions, sell Mug Club, sell and annual content.
Okay.
This was we were doing with him, sell the Dr. Link entertainment.
All right. One backstage episode or a major live event and VIP experience and reasonable promotion of the same. So this is something he has to do each year. One feature-length entertainment special and reasonable promotion of the same. Entertainment specials may include, in Daily Wire's discretion, in consultation with Crowder, a stand-up comedy special or 4 half-hour episodes of the same. Daily Wire will produce at a minimum production budget of $500,000 or up to 10 episodes of a scripted Daily Wire Plus series. Daily Wire will produce with a minimum production budget of $250K per episode. And one feature-length political special and reasonable promotion of the same. Political specials may include a feature documentary or 4 half-hour episodes of the same, which the Daily Wire will produce at a minimum budget of up to $1.25 million each year. Jesus. Or up to 10 episodes of a premium interview show with approved guests, which the production budget has yet to be determined.
Special. That's become an important part of our business model. Here's the key, though. He doesn't have to pay for that.
Yeah, he's
out of his $50 million. You will have
the Daily Wire said outright they would be the ones doing. All right, so let's look at.
He was already shooting, so that's just a little extra money in his pocket if we do something extra. Item 6, the back catalog. Crowder will license.
Okay. Daily Wire and Crowder may mutually agree to create additional content not currently contemplated above. In the event of such agreement, the nature of the content and the fact that it is additional, subject to this paragraph to be confirmed in writing, Crowder will be paid $15,000 per shoot day for such additional content. So if he decides to do anything different, he's guaranteed $15,000 each day. That's fucking unreal. That's like, unironically, half of what I make in a year right now. That's more than half of what I make in a year right now. That's unreal. He does it each day, dude. Jesus. Crowder will license his entire back catalog, including, without limitation, every episode of Louder with Crowder to Daily Wire during the term. Oh, fuck no. That means that when he signed this contract, everything he has made, every YouTube video, every promotion, every change my mind, all of them are the Daily Wire's official content.
License his entire back catalog, including without limitation, every past episode of Louder with Crowder to us during the term. That just means that all the episodes that already exist would also be behind our paywall during the term. At the end of the term, all of that content that we didn't actually pay for would revert to Crowder at the end of the term. But we would have it in the meantime.
Oof.
7, ad reads and promo reads. DW will have the exclusive right to sell ads on the Crowder content on all platforms, channels, websites, apps, widgets, pages, and lists owned, branded, or controlled by us, and on any Crowder owned or controlled social channels, email lists, websites, etc., including Louder with Crowder.
Remunerations for such ads is included in the fee. So that means that the amount they're paying him takes care of any remunerations from the ads. Anything the ads would be paying go to the Daily Wire, because that's how it works. Crowder will read any ad copy and promo copy as requested by Daily Wire through Crowder, though Crowder will have the right to disapprove of particular ad sponsors other than for Daily Wire and affiliated companies, as long as he does not disapprove more than 10% of the total sponsors brought to him by the Daily Wire. So the Daily Wire chooses which sponsors he gets, but he has to accept 90% of them. He has the right to turn down as many as 10%, but he has to accept bare minimum 90% of it, and he has to take anything that is Daily Wire or affiliated related, right? So anything that is a Daily Wire or a Daily Wire subsidiary, those have to be accepted as ad reads. The rest of them, he can turn down up to 10% of them. The Daily Wire will not have the right to sell ads on behalf of companies for which Crowder himself owns more than 5% equity in a direct competitor without Crowder's approval. That's fair. That's pretty reasonable.
And it says remuneration for that is included in the fee. So what does this mean? Well, this is just how are we going to make, first, that at least bare minimum 50 million, and if you count the other things we were talking about, 60 plus million, plus we knew he was going to negotiate, so you're probably talking about 70, 75 million, plus infrastructure, plus marketing, in that framework.
All right. Failure to read all requested ads or promos in any piece of content will constitute a failure to deliver such content, but will not prevent Daily Wire from releasing and monetizing the content, meaning it's still theirs. Ownership. Daily Wire will own all of the content contemplated to be created herein and will own all Daily Wire created channels and brands created by Daily Wire during the term. To be clear, the Daily Wire can exploit those channels, brands, and content in perpetuity at its sole discretion. So anything made while he's under that contract belongs solely to the Daily Wire.
Then the content that he point, Daily Wire will own all of the content.
9. Adaptation rights. Daily Wire will have the right to adapt and monetize anything Crowder says or writes on his podcast, social media, etc., both Daily Wire owned and Crowder's personal channels, books, or media hits for Daily Wire articles, free or subscription, marketing and promotion, social media posts, merch, or newsletters with no additional approval required from Crowder. So they have access. Anything he puts on Twitter, anything he puts on Facebook, anything he does on YouTube, promos, he makes a shirt, it all belongs to the Daily Wire.
Content created during the 4 we paid for the marketing of it, the production of it. We paid him for the time in which he created it at dailywire.com in the fee. So one of
all right. What else?
Will maintain.
All right. Additional rights, merch rights, exclusive right to create and sell Steven Crowder and Crowder content branded merchandise. All remuneration for the DW's Daily Wire's license and exploitation of these rights is included in the fee. Daily Wire will maintain the exclusive right to manage, grow, and monetize all Crowder email lists during the term. All remuneration for the exploitation of these rights is included in the fee. Social media management. The Daily Wire will have the exclusive right to manage, curate, and monetize Crowder's official Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Snapchat, Rumble, and other social media accounts, excluding Crowder's existing personal Twitter and Instagram accounts during the term. So he gets one Twitter, one Instagram, everything else is managed by the Daily Wire. Daily Wire will have the perpetual and exclusive right to create, own, manage, curate, and monetize any and all social media accounts on any social media or similar platform as determined by the Daily Wire, created by Daily Wire based on the Crowder content or shows. All remuneration for the exploitation of these rights is included in the fee.
The exclusive right to create and sell Crowder own
website. Everything. They own
email
the Crowder
list,
brand.
DW will maintain the to make profit. And the profit, so why would we channel back? But that's not the case. We're saying, of course, he needs to control his own Twitter voice. Of course, he needs to include his own Instagram account. We get this a lot where people are like, Jordan's Twitter has changed since he joined Daily Wire Plus. I have nothing to do with
Fucking how?
an exclusive right
That's
to
fair.
create, own, manage, curate, and monetize.
All right, exclusivity. Total exclusivity for all kinds of content in the media throughout the term. Occasional non-regular guest appearances are not restricted, provided Crowder uses good faith efforts to coordinate them with the Daily Wire.
YouTube that are promoting What is a Woman, Crowder accounts, all based on the content. You're going to have exclusivity. They can't go make content for people who compete with you. You don't pay someone to go work for the competition.
Right.
But there's carve-outs. Of course, he can go do non-regular guest appearances.
Crowder will not have the right to run any personal subscription or donation effort in any kind, Patreon, locals, fan clubs, etc. Fee reductions. Okay, this is the part that gets spicy.
Sort of paid fan club. Fee reductions.
All right, we're going to listen to
There's
him.
a different fee reduction for all those kinds of contents we've
Since
created.
we got it. Yeah,
Daily
let him
content.
do it.
If he fails for any reason to deliver 192 episodes of The Daily Show, or if he fails to include the ads that we agreed to or the promotions that we agreed to in those episodes, then we'll give a $100,000 reduction every time.
Oof.
What's that about? Well, again, you can't pay someone
To do something and then they don't do it. Yeah.
any amount of money, but you certainly can't pay them an unimaginably huge amount of money for their show and then not get the show. So what this is saying is you don't have to produce a show every day. You don't have to produce 260 or 250 or 240 or 230 or 220 or 210 episodes a year. What does that mean? Well, instead of up. And second of all, it's actually contemplated a little bit later what happens if there's a disability. In fact, we'll just skip right to it. It's item E. In the event of temporary disability or serious illness that prevents Crowder from performing, the fee will be reduced on a pro rata basis, not subject to the fee reduction mentioned above.
Ooh.
What does that mean? Well, instead of a sort of punitive fee because he's choosing not to do the right thing, in that situation, you'll just reduce it by dividing the total amount of money contemplated, by the number of episodes, just subtract that, which I think is, again, incredibly fair. If you're being paid $1 for every box you deliver 10 boxes, you
Okay, well, let's look at he's not necessarily wrong, but the issue is that if he becomes disabled, that's not his fault. So let's check this out. So he does 192 episodes per year times 4 years, 768 episodes, right? We'll clear that. We'll go 50 million divided by 768 is $65,000. So it goes from $100,000 he loses only 65,000 instead. If it's only 65% of what he would, that's all.
get $10. If you deliver 9 boxes, you get $9. That's a different concept than if you just choose not to deliver it, in which case we're going to subtract a little bit extra.
Yeah, no, that's shady as fuck. I don't like that. I mean, that's normal capitalist stuff, but it's still not good.
And again, you pay somebody $50 million, you should get the work. Monthly and quarterly content, well, this is more valuable content and there's less of it, so the fee is
Okay. If Crowder fails to deliver monthly content in any month or quarterly content, including any of all ad reads, affiliate company promo reads approved and deemed satisfactory to the company, $250,000 reduction in fee per instance. That's pretty
is higher,
reasonable,
$250,000 if he misses that kind of coverage. That brings us to 13, reduction of fee from lost revenue or boycotts. Again, this is one of the points that Stephen really focused on. He says we're enforcers for big tech, that we're doing big tech's bidding, that we're punishing content creators if they run afoul of big tech. And first of all, that's just personally incredibly offensive. It's incredibly offensive to have your friend and ally.
I'm sorry, but it's just really funny to me to hear someone that's like, I personally don't think that black people deserve human rights unless they bow down and kiss the boot of the white master. I don't think that trans people should be allowed to walk down the street to hear them be like, it's pretty offensive for you to say that. That shit's just really funny to me.
In 10 years of fighting this fight alongside one another all the time,
come on.
We get shadow banned all the time, just like all conservatives do. We're investing tens of millions of dollars every year into technology to try to create alternatives. That's a long-term project. No one has built anything. Rumble is not a true competitor to YouTube yet. I hope that they become one. Crowder was absolutely unethical and wrong. So what were we trying to accomplish with this section? Well, let's go through it.
All right, let's.
The reduction of fee from lost revenue from boycotts, content strikes, or
just get
bans
to it.
from major social media platforms. A, ad drop.
Okay. If Crowder is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of his then extant advertising partners, that is 50% of the revenue from those partners, and the company is not able to replace them within 90 days, then the fee will be reduced by 25% until such time as that ad revenue has been restored for a period of 90 days. So if he does something that advertisers do not like and they drop him, he loses 25%. Content strike. If any of the major platforms, YouTube, it doesn't. Oh no. Oh no. This is a legal document. This says YouTube. Who notarized this? No. God, no. Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify issues a content strike other than a company-wide content strike, such that Crowder content cannot be monetized on a platform, and the company is not able to resolve this issue within 90 days, then the fee will be reduced by 25% from that point. That's another that's half of it gone. 2/4 of it already out. Oh, look, it's if you get banned, there's further stuff. But fucking YouTube, I can't get over it, dude. This is a legal document. This is a $50 million legal document. You know how, like, we always say that there's not actually, like, brilliant-minded super geniuses at the top of the conservative ethos? Like, there just isn't. Yeah. Kind of proves it, doesn't it? It's all right. It's all right. All right. If the Crowder content cannot be released on any of the major platforms because Crowder or his content being banned from those platforms, then the fee will be reduced by.
If Crowder is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of his then extant 90 days, and then it would all reset. Steven says, all the left does is boycott our advertisers. So this just says to the left, your boycotts work and we'll enforce it for you. We will punish the content creator for you. But this isn't about punishing the content creator. This is about if the Daily Wire is going to leverage, I can't stress it, probably $100 million by the time you have marketing and infrastructure costs, by the time you pay for all the legal compliance.
Listen, guys, you're saying it's about punishing people. You're saying that I'm punishing you by taking money away from you that we agreed you could have. But, like, at the end of the day, what about my money? What about my money, though? My money's important, isn't it? This is what I mean. Like, dude, it's so funny hearing that because, like, whether you like it or not, you are punishing them, right? You're going, bad. No. Fix it. Because you're taking money away from them if they fuck up. That's a punishment. That's like you fuck up your chore and you don't get an allowance. Like that's punishment. It's okay.
It's all the technology that it takes to support Steven's show and Steven's show, even at the price that we offer.
But the issue is that Steven's show, outside of just what they are paying, like for the like specials that they demand outside of his show, which they could, in theory, have just put in the contract he still had to pay for. He still had to cover. Instead, what they could have done is just made him cover those because he has to cover the regular cost of his show. So, okay.
Offered for it, which he would have wanted much more, at least $100 million. Obviously, if the show makes dramatically less money, well, then Steven has to make less money. Because we're making less money. And I brought this up to Steven on the phone, and I said, Steven,
he's not wrong.
If we guarantee you $1 for your show, and the show makes $1 in ad revenue and $1 in subscription revenue, then how does the money work? Well, it works that $2 come in, you get your guaranteed dollar, we get $1. What do we do? What do you do with your dollar? Well, you produce your show, and you pay yourself. What do we do with our dollar? Well, we market your show, provide all the back-end infrastructure, pay for the 250 plus humans who work to make all of this continue to grow. By the way, we don't pay for one single person more than we need. There's no charity jobs. We're not giving our money away. If anything, we're understaffed by 50%. We ask more of our employees than any
If anything, we're overworking our employees. If anything, we don't pay them what they're worth is the thing. That's the trick.
other company.
Like, he's bragging about not paying the workers correctly and having a smaller workforce than is necessary. He's bragging about it, dude. Oh no. This is what I mean. This is like typical, like, I'm a capitalist type deal shit, right? Oh my God. Oof.
Probably in America today, we drive people incredibly hard because our resources are limited, because we're trying to accomplish so much
fucking get back
for
into
our
the
values, for our
contract ever?
movement. So we pay for that out of our dollar.
Yeah, we
Same with the content
understand
strike.
we understand here how capitalism works. Okay, if YouTube 20%, if Apple Podcast 20%, if Facebook 10%, if Spotify 10%. Now, I haven't seen anything about cumulative, but I would assume it's cumulative. Ad drops are 25%, content strike is 25%, and then a ban is another 20% or whatever. So that's 50%, and then, you know, all of it if you get banned on everything.
Any major platform, YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, so we can't start the deal at minus 25. You have to already have anticipated that, and that would have been fine. That's just at least on any of the major platforms.
Right.
Because of its content being banned from those platforms, permanently gone, you can't make that money. And we aren't benefactors. We're a business. We only get to eat what we kill.
Yes.
And, you know, at the very beginning, we thought maybe we could do like a joint venture with Stephen where
Oh my goodness, just finish
in saying that
through
we're
it.
enforcers for the very, and tell people
Okay, so they're going through this.
that'll ban us
this
and
is the end.
demonetize us and give content strikes against us all the time. When all we're saying is, no, let's be smart about how we fight them. The rest of this document, you're welcome to read it. It's just legalese, and what it says.
Okay, so it is basically just legalese, it looks like. This is the parties intend to collaborate in good faith in an attempt to reach mutually agreeable, definitive long-term form. Like, this is just them saying that after all of these things have been agreed to, everyone agrees to uphold their end of the bargain to the best of an ability, and that the punitive actions found inside are, you know, valid.
As is, if we decide to move forward, this isn't the whole document. We're going to have a longer document. We're going to have to negotiate these topics. Confidentiality. We're not going to tell people about the deal. He didn't sign this, so he doesn't have those confidentiality requirements,
That's
although
true.
I certainly expected some political or, I guess, personal and professional courtesy of him not
Not to go exposing
going
it.
and reaming us publicly for
Yeah, but the issue is that your deal does kind of suck for lower content creators, because Steven Crowder's getting $50 million, sure. And if he loses, like, imagine Steven loses, I don't know, 60% of that $50 million, or we'll just say half. He loses half of it. He only makes $25 million. Producing that show cannot take that much money. You know what I mean? It just won't take that much money. I know my show very clearly is not well produced, but if someone were to pay me $80,000 a year, I would have a show that was produced. I would like knock down walls in my house. I'd have a soundproof room, everything, right? Because that's, I mean, with that amount of money, I could just make this show perfect, right? I would just do that all the time. I would make $40,000 a year for myself, which is more than I make now. And I'd have $40,000 to just spend on this business. So with just $80,000 a year, which, I mean, think if he was getting 25 million, that would be what, over 4 years, it'd be like six something million in a year. Yeah, he can produce that and still make decent money on half of that. But what if you've got people that are lower content creators like me that get a similar deal, right? Right now, if someone was like, you get an $80,000 deal, you make 80 grand a year. That's our deal for you. You get 80 grand each year. But if you get a content strike, this happens. If you get an ad strike, this happens. If you don't read the ads, this happens, right? And I could be making as low as $20,000 a year and still have to produce my show, because generally speaking, the topics that you go over when you're doing politics are very easily demonetized. That's a problem. And if you get a strike because of that, typically that's not on you. That's because politics is inflammatory. So that's Crowder's point, right? That his deal, like, maybe, sure, that's fine. 50 million is a big number. I can make that work even with the content strikes or whatever. But what about the other guys? And that's his position, is that there should be a more principled way to handle it so that lower end content creators can actually achieve.
Making him an offer that he didn't like. I don't owe Steven a job, and Steven doesn't owe me a show. We opened up a conversation in good faith. We made an offer. He didn't like it. Now he's burning us. That brings me actually to what happened after.
All right.
I sent this over. I did get on the phone with Steven. Normally, this is the stage where you say, I like this, I don't like that, red line, red line, red line, and we move closer together. Instead, Steven said, I'm not going to red line this. I'm not going to have my agent respond. This deal is garbage. You need to start completely over. I said, well, I'd like to talk through why we do it. And he listened for a little bit, and he said, well, you're just wrong. You don't know anything about business. My business model is the right business model.
No, he didn't say that. That's not what he said. Don't misconstrue him. What he's saying is that you don't know how to run a business in line with the principles you espouse. That's true. If you consistently rally against big tech, you say Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of these sites, they're run by evil communist leftists that hate Republicans, even though like Republicans always have channels that are more highly subscribed to than lefties ever do. If that's the case, right, that you're always rallying against them, then yeah, you're not in line with your principles if part of your contract is that you have to play ball with the rules that those channels, those big tech companies have set for you. So Crowder's right in what he actually said. What he actually said is that you can't do this and have principles. Right, you're running a business, the business is fine, but I have a business model that I've been able to scale up pretty well for myself that's more in line with our principles, and I could show you what that business model looks like if you're willing to give me a deal under that business model instead of the one we have now, even if it's for less money. That's what he said. Principles, right? Now, I think it's stupid. Big tech is bad, but all big corporations are bad from my view, so like I don't single any of them out. But the issue is that you can't, like I said in the other one, you just can't. There's no way you can scale a business model to be bigger than what you would get from using YouTube, Facebook, Apple, so-and-so. It's okay, though. I mean, it's worth a shot if you want to stick to your principles, even if you make a little less. Especially because, like I said, if I was making like $30,000 a year, my choice was to keep making $30,000 on YouTube or to make 15,000 on fucking Rumble or whatever, right? Clearly I'm gonna have to stick with YouTube, right? But if I'm making $35 million, right, and I could make $10 million if I go to Rumble and my principles would be in line, I'm going to Rumble. End of story.
And of course, that's unfair because Steven hasn't run this part of a business before. Steven likes to say, I'm only on the air because of Mug Club. But Steven couldn't tell me how many subscribers he had. I said, how many subscribers do you have at the place? He said, I don't know. They don't tell me. And I'm sure that's true. He said, but I'm confident. I guarantee you it'll be 350,000 on day one with no marketing. I hope that's true. But I can't take that risk.
That's a lot, dude. How much is Mug Club? Mug Club. Bro, how much is Mug Club? Just tell me how much it is. Let's see. So is it $100 a year? Is that what it is? Or is it $100 a month? Is it a year? I don't know. If it's $100 a year and he's saying 350, that's 35 million, right? Right off the bat. Jesus. And that's a year? Jesus. There's no way. No way. It's got to be 100 a year, right? There's no way he's doing $100 a month on that. If it's $100 a year, right? 350K. Just double checking my math is right. Yeah, 35 million. That's wild. That's so much money, dude. Jesus.
I've never seen that to be true. I've never launched any talent with $0 spent on marketing and picked up a third of the total subscribers that the entire Daily Wire has built in 8 years in business.
Well, that's the thing. He's not saying he's not marketing. He's saying that when he joins, he will have that many subscribers, no marketing, because he already has them. That's the point. He's saying he has them, and that when he transitions over to the Daily Wire will have them. No marketing.
I hope Steven's right. I hope he makes here that I told you about on things like marketing and infrastructure and technology to support the show, the part that Steven's never done. As soon as he said that, I knew we'll never get to a deal. I can't guarantee $30 million a year. I didn't know how I was going to pay for 50. I thought, not that he isn't worth it, but that's a big risk. $120 million is an incalculable risk for a company. We'd have to pay it even if he's out on his own. And so I called him up. I said, hey, we're not going to send a follow-up offer. I want you to hear it directly from me, not from lawyers and agents. I said, but the kind of deal you're looking for is not the kind of deal that we can make. He was super gracious, appreciative, kind. We agreed to continue forward as we always had as friends. We do favors for each other. I told him, if you stay at the Blaze or if you go off on your own, go to Rumble, go wherever, we're going to continue to write stories about you and promote you and have you on. Like,
right.
You know, we want you to be as successful as humanly possible, and we want to contribute to that. And we went our separate ways. And months went by. October goes by, November goes by, December goes by.
I'm waiting.
And then a week
for the
ago,
wage slave thing.
In January,
I don't think he's going to discuss it because it makes him look abjectly like an asshole.
Steven called me. And he said, hey, man, no two talent in our company have the same deal. Every deal is different. Because there's told him, well, I'll take it under consideration, bud. And we got off the phone. And then I wake up yesterday and he puts out this video laying into us the way that he did. And, you know, he redacted parts of the document. He didn't name us by name. And I'm sure on some level that was meant as a courtesy. But all it really did was create suspicion in our audience. I know a lot of you have been out there defending us, saying, well, this couldn't have possibly been the Daily Wire. And I don't want to be the guy who 3 weeks later, Steven or someone else says that it was the Daily Wire and you feel betrayed. Like, why'd these guys leave me out to dry? I appreciate your impulse to defend us. That's not how Steven chose to operate.
But it doesn't seem like he's going to talk about it, which is, I mean, smart. That's
and now we find ourselves here where we're having this public, mutually succeed. I don't need to tell you that we're committed to fighting the left. We fight the left as hard as anyone. You might say, well, you guys are wrong sometime. Ben was wrong about this one time, and you were wrong about that one time. And yeah, we don't claim to not make mistakes.
Oh my God, okay.
This actually isn't one of our mistakes. This is a great, respectable offer that we are Plus members up against.
Okay, so he's not going to talk about it. So there's a big key factor missing, which is him saying that, like, it's cool to hire people as wage slaves specifically, and that fuck them and their independence. They work for us. Their content belongs to us. So, yeah, that's fun. Like I said in my other one, though, like, the issue is that both sides on this one have a pretty reasonable claim, right? If you're looking strictly in our current economic system as a capitalist framework, then it makes sense that you would want to make sure your expenses are covered, that you're reimbursed for any mistakes that are made, right? Like, if I was working at the Daily Wire trying to come up with a deal, I would also want to make sure that I was getting mine. Fair enough, right? But at the same time, you're not running a standard business. You're running a business where you pretend that you have principles. You have a very strict perspective of the world, and you abide by that perspective. And if you're not abiding by that perspective, you're not living to your principles. So maybe Crowder has a point too. So I think, generally speaking, no one's actually wrong in this deal. But as dumb as it is to say I would stand with Steven Crowder, can't believe I'm saying it, but yeah, in this deal against the Daily Wire, I'd be standing with Steven Crowder.